Nomad Summit, and welcome to the future. Over the next 25 minutes, I hope to convince you that the way that we used to do things is going to change meaningfully. The jobs and entrepreneurship that we used to know is going to be meaningfully transformed, and indeed, building the AI startup might be the biggest opportunity in our lifetimes. So, why should you listen to me? Hi. I'm Dr. Dan. I have a PhD in AI. I used to hang out at Google and eat the free food, which they called work, and they paid me. I've been a founder of many startups for about 11 years now, and over there you can see my citation record, if that means something to you. But I think more important credentials than these are selfies. And so on the left-hand side, you can see Geoffrey Hinton, the winner of the Nobel Prize for inventing a bunch of technology that we use for artificial neural networks, which is what powers a lot of the AI that you use today. And on the right-hand side is Jensen Huang, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA, one of the most valuable companies in the world, because they make the chips on which the AI runs. Now, a bit of audience participation here. If you would all put your hands up with me, come on. Panic! The end of all jobs is here! Amazing. Thank you all for joining me in that. So let's talk about ChatGPT, or as I call it, Jippy. So Jippy is many things to many people. It's your lawyer, your doctor, your friend, your co-founder, but Jippy is one more thing, at least to me, and it is the canary in the gold mine. In the line of progress through time, it is what tells us that we have passed the elbow on the curve of exponentiality. Now, to illustrate this, let's talk about images, because text is a bit boring on a presentation. So, 2014, I remember when that came out, I was doing research, and it was the very first application of generative AI to generating images that was learned from a data set. Obviously, it was rubbish. I thought it was not going anywhere. Next year, wow, we get colors. Next year, still in the uncanny valley. Next year, solved. That's it. 3 years from we've never done this before to now this is a totally normal thing to do. So let's play a little game, shall we? Let's see how good you are at recognizing AI-generated images. Do you think this is an AI-generated image? Who thinks this? Okay. How about this one? Any takers? How about this one? AI? Okay. You are all correct if you raise your hand, and if you kept it up, you're the most correct. They're all fake. And as of this year, this is now old news, this is the current thing. If you put in text, you say you want to see whatever that is, a corgi, I don't know what type of dog that was, swimming in a pool, this is what you get out. That's it. Text in, video out. Look at the physics simulation. This is something that just blows my mind, that the model just learned how water behaves and how things fall into it. This is now just going to be available to everybody, which means you'll be able to do this on your laptop. Who needs Hollywood anymore? This is one modality of many. We can also do 3D objects, we can do textures, we can automatically rig them and animate them, which will save you hundreds of millions of dollars if you're developing video games. If there is something digital you can think of, whether it's music, audio, video, 3D, whatever, there's a company doing this right now, trying to automate it. But this is bits and bytes. In the world of atoms, the robots are coming. There's my friend Jensen with his favorite humanoids. Every time he does a presentation, he actually has the robots. I wish I did. I love humanoids. They remind me of the sci-fi I used to read as a child. You know, I dreamt of a world in which these friends, robots, servants would just be around us. For now, they're still toys, impressive toys. But speaking of toys, my favorite toy that came out last month is this one. It answers the question, what do you get if you crossbreed a dog and a motorbike? And I can't wait to ride that robot into battle. I want to swap my Honda Click for one of these. It costs 100 grand, so if you want to go and buy one, you're welcome to. Very soon on Amazon. And speaking of Amazon, I used to do AI research at Amazon, and while I was in the company, there was this worry that they're going to run out of people. And the reason is they treat their employees like dirt, right? It's like after being told to pee in a water bottle, people leave and tend to not come back. And so they were considering what to do about it. Maybe, I don't know, we should improve working conditions? Maybe we should raise wages? Thank you. Nah, screw that. We're going to just have robots do everything instead of humans. So the top right is your Amazon Fulfillment Center today. In fact, has been true since 2015. And the bottom is testing new upcoming modalities, new robots. They're investing a lot in this space. But even better robots, more immediately accessible to you, are the robots that drive you around. This is Waymo, San Francisco. It's overtaken Lyft already in number of rides. It's approaching Uber in how many people take this. It's now the #1 tourist attraction in San Francisco. Just get in a Waymo and be driven around. So maybe you're wondering, does this really affect me as a digital nomad? I mean, I'm not a checkout cashier, I don't work in Amazon fulfillment center. Writings on the wall. So let's talk about digital nomads. What do we do on those laptops, apart from staring into them with a bright sun, wearing sunglasses and all of that? Well, there's a bunch of sources of data on the internet you can find about nomads. This is from Nomad list, where it is indeed self-reported, and there might be some bias in this data, but if you look at professions, men, about 30 to 40% of them are software engineers or developers of some type, and women is about 10 to 15%, let's say. So let's talk about developers and software engineers. I used to be one at Google, and every Thursday, I would grab that mic and ask an annoying question to the founders who were on stage, and that was the most fun I've had in my life, by the way. Highly recommend it if you can get to that. And one of the questions I asked was, I used to think that as a software engineer, my job was to automate all jobs, by which I mean human jobs. And I used to think that my job would be the last one to go, because I'm the one doing the automation, right? But then I realized that we might be better at automating ourselves than we are automating anybody else whose job we don't actually understand. So are we putting ourselves out of a job? And their answer was, don't worry, your jobs are safe for many, many years. Many turned out to be exactly 6, because that's when everybody started firing. The layoffs started at Google, Alphabet, Meta, everywhere. And if you see that graph, you will see there's this dip. That dip is COVID, right? During the pandemic, everybody overhired and underfired, right? So, okay, there's that effect in there for sure, and then changing market conditions, people expected a recession. Of course, that's part of the reason. But maybe there's another part of this, and that is that this is what being a developer looks like today. I went to Claude and I wrote that in. Make me a playable clone of Space Invaders. Off it goes. Writes the code, boom, playable in your browser. Of course, that's rubbish. What's all these squares and stuff? Come on, Claude, draw me some aliens. Okay, fine. So here it goes again, and he draws some aliens, and ta-da, Space Invaders, playable. That I coded by asking the machine to make it for me. So all of you here today are developers. You're a developer, Harry. So that's great, but in practice, this is not what a software engineer does, sadly. You actually have to maintain an existing application. You want to add features, solve bugs. So this is a more complex task than just telling the computer to do this. And so we have this thing that has been there on the screen for a while, which is a benchmark to evaluate LLM systems and how good they are at solving real-world GitHub issues, GitHub tickets. So this was launched in October 23. We couldn't do 5% of these. LLMs were hopeless. Then that kept growing and growing. And I've been giving these talks for about a year now. And I remember we were halfway. And I was saying, well, I don't know if it's going to plateau. I don't know if it's going to go up. I don't know what the speed is going to look like. Well, that's what it looks like. And if you see that dot at the very top, 71.7%, all of a sudden a jump. That is due to OpenAI's recent model, O3, which is now smarter than most humans ever to live. It's smarter than scientists at science, does better math than mathematicians, and it is the 175th best programmer in the world. Yes, there are competitions for programmers where they see who's like smarter and stuff. I have a whole video about this, so at the end you'll get like a QR code if you're interested in like more explanation. So, 1997, we beat Kasparov at chess. 2016, we beat Lee Sedol at Go. Will 2025 be the year that we beat the best programmer at programming? And if we do, will there be any jobs left for programmers? So this is a differential from one year to the next and like types of programming jobs being advertised. And you can see in red that everything to do with front-end, back-end, all the standard things, less demand. And at the top, you see 2 big spikes. What are those? Applied scientist, machine learning engineer. These are the guys automating the other guys. So if you are not automating, you're being automated, is the takeaway from this. Amazon's saving thousands of years of work with AI, and at Google, 25% of all code, mainly boilerplate and tests, but is being written by AI. Meta, Zuckerberg just said this week that he expects this year to be the year they automate mid-level engineers at Meta, and he also announced 5% layoffs with that. And Klarna, which is this big Swedish company doing a pay later thing, said they're not going to use Salesforce anymore, which is this big B2B SaaS business thing, because they're going to build it themselves in-house. We're going to rebuild this whole product with AI because it's going to do it for free. And Salesforce said, oh yeah? Well, we're not going to hire any more engineers then because we don't need them because we have AI stuff. Is it only coding jobs going down? If you look at Upwork and Fiverr and such, there's a dip in jobs overall, in gigs. It's not just coding, it's writing, graphic design, 3D modeling, there's more competition, etc. I think this is part of a greater context of all the layoffs, etc. So it's not that simple, but when you look at Upwork's own study on this, they said, yes, there's a decrease in overall gigs, but high-value contracts are increasing, and there is now a premium on complex and specialized tasks. I summarize their whole report in a meme, which goes, if you're Buff Doge, you deliver solutions, you make more money. If you're Teams, you make digital goods, Gen AI will take your job, and it's gone. In the game industry, which I kind of like foreshadowed at the beginning, AAA games, so like your Legend of Zelda's, Medal of Honors, etc., cost a lot to make a lot of money. They're like Hollywood blockbusters, right? And although the industry is growing, the industry has also been laying off people at an increasing rate. Why? Because they automated concept art. So when you have somebody in-house that kind of sketches what the elf was going to look like, you don't need that guy anymore. You go to Midjourney, the creative director can do it himself. And then if it's not good enough, you give it to an Upwork freelancer, but it's usually just good enough, and that's enough. And in that article, there's this beautiful quote I personally love, which says, in every revolution, there's a displacement in the workforce in the near term, but then meaningful increases in workforce opportunities over the longer term. This is from the CEO of Electronic Arts, who also announced 5% layoffs when he was saying that. So, my question to you is, do you think this will hold in the fifth industrial revolution, the AI revolution? Let's think about this together. So, this is you, sitting in a co-working space, comfy chair, nice cup of coffee, in front of a computer, doing whatever it is that brings you joy, purpose, and ideally an income. And that is, you take information from the computer, goes into your brain, that brain processes it, puts it in context, makes sense of it, and then makes decisions, makes choices. And then those decisions are formalized as motor movements. You put information back into the computer with your appendages, right? You are a knowledge worker. You work with your brain, not with your muscles. Why? Why would anyone pay you for that? Well, because your brain is this amazing machine that can do things that until now nothing else could, like high-level planning and thinking and reasoning and being able to predict how humans will react to a certain communication so that you can communicate effectively and orchestrate all these things. Amazing. And you, as an owner of this amazing device, might think, you're up there in the clouds, and then AI is somewhere there at the bottom, you know, like with the ants and the rats. The reality is much closer to this, okay, where AI is increasing exponentially, and I actually am here to tell you that we have reached this point. The intersection of AI growth with the smartest human that ever lived. And I've been giving these talks, and I was foreshadowing, like foretelling that this will happen someday. It's happened already. So if you look at this distribution over IQs for humans, and you see those circles representing different LLMs and how they do different tests, O1 was already kind of like smarter than the average human. O3, which you might remember from a slide before, the latest model that is the 175th best programmer, also has an IQ of 157. This is like held out tests, so it's harder to cheat at these. And who else has a similar IQ? This guy. Well, he never took an IQ test, but we estimated at 160, after which it doesn't make sense. The point here being, I want to make a statement, which is that very soon there will be nothing that a human can do that a machine can't do better, faster, cheaper, and more reliably. And if that is true, then stop hiring humans. Hire machines instead. And I love this photo because it's so beautifully dystopian. It's a homeless person next to an ad that says, you know, stop hiring humans and hire robots. And it's basically a real-life reenactment of this cover of the New Yorker in 2017, like 7 years ago. It was like robots just giving handouts to homeless people. And I mean, there's no way that we will maintain a working society without some kind of universal basic income. We need to spread the wealth that we are generating algorithmically. But in the meantime, it's a problem. We all agree. So, where there's a problem, there's an opportunity. And I think this is the greatest opportunity that's ever been before. I think all of us here are suddenly empowered in ways that we have never been before. So, the cost of digital goods is trending to zero, as I already showed you. You can already do anything you want. You can create anything you want. It means you're a one-person agency or studio. You can make a video game. You can make a movie. You can write a book. You can start together, put together courses, online communities, whatever you want, which is incredible, right? We heard on this stage before from people launching courses or writing books and making money with that. Well, there you go. You can do that now. There's this guru of startups, Paul Graham. He's the founder of Y Combinator, which is the OG startup incubator accelerator in Silicon Valley. And that's the best selfie I could get with him, unfortunately. But he has this tweet where he goes, if AI allows companies, to be smaller, that's great, because as they grow, it doesn't scale properly because humans are terrible. And somebody says, imagine all the people looking for jobs. He says, just have more companies, more companies. And Naval, another guru in this space, says the same, that the future will be almost all startups. All right then, let's talk about entrepreneurship. I have been an entrepreneur for about 11 years now, and man, it's tough. It's a tough world out there because not only do you need to be focused and productive and good at your thing, etc., you also have to manage people. And people are hard. You have to find them, you have to convince them to join, you have to onboard them, you have to motivate them, you have to put them in teams and keep them productive for long, and if they're not, you have to fire them, and then you have to convince people to give you money, you have to convince people to buy your stuff. Man, it's hard. Or you can just say, you know what, screw people. I'm going solo. Solopreneurs are a thing. They're not as big a thing as entrepreneurs for sure, but it's a growing trend. We've all heard about beta levels many times before. But I would say this is even harder than being an entrepreneur. And the reason is you're alone. You have to keep yourself motivated and focused and driven and passionate, etc. But also, you have to do every job of everybody you're not hiring. You have to be the developer and the marketer and the accountant and everybody else, right? But I think we are about to enter a new modality of entrepreneurship, and we'll see a new profile emerge, which I call the ultrapreneur. So who is the ultrapreneur? Well, Sam Altman of OpenAI says the AI will make it possible for one person to build a $1 billion company very soon. Wow, how does that look like? Well, you just go to your computer and you say, make me a startup. What? Make it yourself. Sudo, make me a startup. I hope there's enough nerds in the audience to get this joke. Okay, I'll do it. Now, is this possible today? Of course not. GP is just a black box. It's a mapping function. You give it input, it gives you output. That's all it does. But 2025 is the year of agentic AI. We're all going to get agents, right? And virtual employees, or at least we're at the top of the hype cycle, so that's what everybody's saying. So every company, of course, is rebranding to an AI agent company. Like whatever they do, now it's AI agents, of course. So what is an AI agent, actually? Like everybody talks about it, but what is it? Well, an agent is someone or something that produces an effect. And that in the robot space looks like it's a robot that performs autonomous actions interacting with the environment in order to achieve explicit goals, often using multi-step plans to do so. And here I represent the environment as a laptop emoji. Why? Because that is indeed the environment in which they will run. They will see your screen, they'll move your mouse, they'll click, virtual keys on your keyboard. Here is an example of that. Claude Computer Use, which came out just over 2 months ago, I think. Here's an example of somebody saying, I want to watch the sunrise at the Golden Gate Bridge, but I don't know what time it is and how to get there. Figure it out for me. And so the agent goes, Googles, learns, clicks on pages, opens apps, checks how far that is, how long it will take, figures out what time the sunrise is, and then it creates a calendar event so that you leave at the right time, to arrive at the right time. Now, this is not a great business case, but you see the capabilities. That's the whole point. It illustrates that you can do this soon. So, according to OpenAI's artificial intelligence scales, we're at level 3, or getting into level 3 of agents. I actually would propose we're much closer to 4. But this means that very soon, the AI company will become possible. a company of AI agents that probably interact with each other over Slack, like remote workers already do, and they do your bidding. Here's this wonderful tweet that I recommend to everyone to read, which says you shouldn't emphasize that much learning automations and prompting methods, although I think you should, but don't focus on that. Focus on learning how to think in systems and create processes, how to delegate various systems, and how to lift yourself up from that and design the playbook instead of having to do it. Write the robot, basically. So you have processes that are inputs, processes, and outputs. These are boxes that are connected, right? Like a make.com workflow. For each of them, think, can I delegate it? Can I delete it? Can I automate it? Maybe use Zapier, maybe use Make. I recommend checking out Gumloop and Crew AI, which are more towards the LLM agentic things, like they're moving more in that direction. But at this point, maybe you're wondering, okay, cool, so I have all these opportunities, but what should I build? All right, wouldn't it be great if GP had a sorting hat, and you could feed into it the state of the world, your strengths, the things you like, and it would say, haha, business, this is what you should be working on. All right, then, let's look at how that would look. So the internet is full of data, right? You have Reddit, Twitter, Google Trends, whatever. So you can have an agent go and scrape these websites that give you the trends, like Gummy Search and Exploding Topics. And this is an example of Google Trends. People searching for landing page AI is growing like crazy. And I can tell you every landing page AI I've used was rubbish. So there's definitely an opportunity here. OK, so you have trends. You generate some candidates of things that you could do. You filter them for what you like, what you can do, like your preferences for things, founder fit. And then you score them for DFV. And then you let the model think about it. What is that? Is it desirable? Do people want it? Is it technically possible to build? So can I build this? And is it viable? Like, how much money will this make? This is, of course, hard problems inside hard problems. You need some external data. It's more complex than just like drawing a few circles, but it's a general thinking framework. OK, so now we have a list of things. We want to validate them. How do you validate them? You set up a funnel. People in this room know way more about this than I do, but you set up a funnel, you A/B test it, and you iterate. So you use things like ClickFunnels and Unbounce and stuff. Normally, you would have to do this by hand. You go and you do it. But now you're going to have agents do this for you, right? And from that, of course, you generate, so not from that, but in order to push people into the funnel, you can auto-generate media, which we saw at the beginning, and you auto-post it to socials, which, again, I'm sure it's full of experts in here about how to do that. That ideally will give you a list of validated ideas that you can then go and feed into Claude and say, build this for me. If only it was that easy, right? Entrepreneurship is tough, as I said. The only thing that sucks more than being an entrepreneur is being a solopreneur. Okay? So not only do you have to stay focused, you have to do it by yourself with no company. You really need support. You need someone to keep you accountable, motivated, inspired, and help you choose what to work on today, help you prioritize. You need a co-founder. We would all have a co-founder if the perfect co-founder existed, right? The problem is you have to find someone who shares your passion, your mission, your vision, who has complementary skills, who doesn't try to be your boss or doesn't hate that you're their boss and there's no ego clashing there, who is at the right time, that they can take a risk, and who won't stab you in the back and take your stuff. So how do you find that person? It's like so many overlapping circles. This is like the hardest Venn diagram in history. And I can tell you because I've done this over and over, and it's been the hardest part of being an entrepreneur. So I decided to fix my own problem. And I built Ned, the AI co-founder who helps you stay accountable, stay focused, productive, has a knowledge of 1,000 lifetimes, and it's 83% hilarious, trust me. So if you scan that QR code, that will send you to the waiting list. And because I'm running out of time, I won't leave this at the end. You'll have the QR code again. So takeaways, if you're not automating, you're being automated. So map up your processes, delete, delegate, automate. The cost of digital goods is trending to 0, which is amazing. You can make anything, but keep in mind, that also means that everybody else can make everything. So think of your personal brand and your network as value adds. How do you become findable? How do people choose to work with you? Agentic AI is coming, and so build the AI startup. Make $1 billion. Maybe the world on UBI and full of ultrapreneurs looks like utopia, as imagined by Jippy, or maybe looks like the metaverse, as imagined by Mark Zuckerberg. But whatever it is, the conversation we should all be having is, whose robot is this anyway? And so my favorite headline of all time is, just own the damn robots. And even better, ride them. Thank you very much for the attention. Here's your QR codes.